The first part of my second video referred to the charity law case, which reveals the Attorney General's fundamental conflict of interest and that goes to the heart of the first duty of government, the peace and security of its people. The second part of video number 2 told the graphic story of this case concerning the Project on Demilitarisation, or Prodem for short, that has decisively affected your future peace and security. A story I put to you was one of skullduggery in high places. This third and final part suggests what you can do to help rectify the biggest cover-up in the modern history of English civil law, as I have exposed it to be, by revealing omitted or understated facts. As I said before, this suggestion involves no political action whatsoever. Alternatively, what will be the cost to all you hold dear if you do nothing? What then of my standing in contrast to the Attorney General's conflicts of interest? My authority is based on, first, playing by the rules of the game, which I did not decide, nor am I the judge. These rules are essential in life as in any sport. A legal decision is only objective and lawful if it includes all the material facts and relevant legal principles. None of the Prodem tribunal decisions met that criterion, even though no judge disputed its correctness, which was written into my summons. The International Peace Project 2000, or IPP, Prodem's successor body, has kept strictly to the judge's legal framework, as the charity regulators have not. See a summary of my evidence at www.directionofconflict.org in 2019. The judgments of the Court of History have vindicated my analysis and predictions of war or peace in various areas of international conflict. This is because that court operates according to the laws of God. As you treat others, so will you be treated. It has left in tatters the decisions of the English courts on Prodem status, but vindicated their legal framework for posterity. Secondly, the application of an irenical perspective rather than a political one. And like any sport, it is open to competition. It's called the Peace Games. The last Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, launched a peace offensive, as it was widely called, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, that obviated the great power war and nuclear exchange that had threatened partial or complete annihilation in the early 1980s. He applied an irenical perspective, even though it wasn't called that at the time, which the West chose not to do, thereby taking Europe back to a climate for war in the 1990s, manifested in the NATO-Serbia War of 1999 with the rump Yugoslavia, which did not involve initiating Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, the Self-Defense Clause. For those of you, like myself, old enough to remember, which did you prefer? President Gorbachev's peace offensive in Europe, or President Putin's military offensive in Ukraine, both aimed at demilitarization? The English Attorney General and the late Charity Commissioners for England and Wales thought we should be indifferent in the former case, opposed in the latter. I, though, was absolutely clear in writing long before the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022 that our Western failure or unwillingness to fully reciprocate the Gorbachev peace offensive would lead back to a climate for war in the absence of a converted attitude, namely the adoption of an irenical perspective. That is what I forecast in my 4 out of 6 Prodem briefings. That is what the court of history delivered. Politics was powerless to prevent it. Thirdly, my authority comes from now warning the public that the Western and specifically British refusal to admit error over the handling of the ending of the Cold War threatens, inter alia, a NATO-Russian war, which would be likely to escalate rapidly to the strategic nuclear level. See my first YouTube video. Like sports cheats or players who think they can also be umpires in the same game, English attorneys general are ready to risk annihilation rather than admit they were wrong. It may seem presumptuous for me to call myself law officer for public benefit in England and Wales, as I do, adding de jure, or rightfully, by the court of history since the 24th of February 2022. Before the Russian invasion of Ukraine on that day, I said I was de facto law officer because the Attorney General had abdicated his responsibilities in this matter. But the moment this war scenario I had foreseen in 1993 occurred, I became de jure, a divine right not of kings, but of every hearer of the truth in the court of history. However, the English Attorney General has manifestly failed, like the Charity Commission for England and Wales, past and present, to uphold, inform, and advance the public benefit of an irenical perspective. His political role has overwhelmed his function as law officer and public protector of charity. Moreover, my role is based on A, the verdict of the court of history, as I had foreseen to a far greater extent than anyone else writing in English anywhere on earth as far as I know. And if anyone thinks I am wrong, the onus is on them to produce the evidence. B, the Prodem legal case I initiated, and my payment of the Attorney General's costs, symbolizing the transfer of authority and power to uphold an irenical perspective from the state to an educational body, the International Peace Project 2000, or IPP, English Charity Registration Number 1101966. This post of law officer for public benefit is open to competition. It carries no salary or fee, and even out-of-pocket expenses are met myself, so there is no financial motive. The triumphalist, bargaining from strength view of the world, so prevalent in the West at the end of the Cold War, has been comprehensively discredited as a sole or main basis for determining the direction of that conflict. Rather, the balance of peace or peaceful means of conflict resolution is decisive for human survival in the long term. Counterintuitive? So was the belief that the Earth revolves around the Sun rather than vice versa, until the astronomical observations of Copernicus restored the heliocentric view of the solar system, which the ancient Greeks had discovered 2 millennia before. Judging on appearances is no basis for ascertaining truth. At the conclusion to the first video, I said I would suggest what you can do about this situation, which involves no political action whatsoever. First, know that politics cannot on its own create a state of peace, even when liberal democracies make the running. For example, the First World War ended in a peace settlement so flawed that it created the conditions for a yet more destructive Second World War. And the post-Cold War peace settlement may have created the conditions for a nuclear apocalypse. Every UK government and parliament since the 1980s has been shown to be wrong about the prospects for East-West peace. On the other hand, my educational method of analysing international conflicts has been proven right so far by the course of events towards a state of war or peace in that and other regions. The evidence is available in legal deposit libraries or online. Secondly, IPP is now in pole position to fulfill this educational role. Competing analyses to predict the direction of a conflict towards a climate for peace or war, like weather forecasting, will help to constrain the worst excesses of global politics. Thirdly, while the English Attorney General has shown he is not to be trusted for your peace and security, education on an irenical perspective has shown itself to be trustworthy. Therefore, I would encourage every one of you, both adults and children from the age of 7, to make a small peace offering each year towards IPP's peace games, namely £1 British per adult and 10 pence per child per year. See the IPP websites shown on the background to this video that illustrate both the peace games and doomsday riskometer, and on how the peace offering operates. And in due course, it will show how actual donations can be made. And of course, if you can't afford even that tiny sum per year, then God bless you. For the rest of us, this peace offering, which leaves your government and parliament free to govern within the constitutional bounds of law and reason, involves no political action whatever, provided the rule of law can be maintained. My next video is about the English judges when they do come under political pressure to bias their judgments, of which you have already had a foretaste, and the life or death consequences that flow therefrom for you and your families. You can expect this video number 3 in Advent.